Hello in there, I'm Richie and welcome to Sounds of Stadia SideQuest, the show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more what the video offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the bread to my meat sandwich, Mr. Chris.
Loaf it out, Richie, loaf it out.
And of course, Mr. Tom.
But I mean, you've got to have two slices to make a sandwich, right?
People like the man meat thing. People like the man meat thing, so I'm giving people what they want.
Each to their own.
If I'm the meat, you have to be the bread. That's how it works.
That's fine. I don't even like. Does any of us three, before we get into it, as always, we like to try and throw Richie off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
Does anyone actually out of us three eat the end of the loaf of bread? By the way, like those nubbin bits. Yeah.
It's good for soup.
It's
it's perfect for dipping in soup. That's why.
How often do you have soup though?
Not that often. Usually when I got a loaf of bread, but I don't buy bread all the time.
Do you get half loaves?
No, if I get bread, I indulge.
You indulge. You go all out. Let us know in the comments, I guess, if you call it a stoddy, a bun, a bap, a roll.
No.
Go crazy. I know people love to deliberate over that one.
Anyway, this week we're going to be discussing the recent announcements regarding XCloud and how they compare to Stadia. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. I do every single week, the bell notification, the bell icon for notifications. We have YouTube memberships, which start from as little as 99p, which you can get early access to this show, a whole 5 or 6 days early. It supports the channel. You get use of our Sounds of Stadia emojis and our internal love. Don't forget to check out other shows, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast and all of our E3 coverage, because there is a lot of it at the moment. And if you want to continue this discussion even further, drop in the Discord. There's a link in the description. So, Microsoft versus Stadia. This has been one I think it's been building for quite a while, actually. The discussion about how XCloud compares to Stadia, because we haven't actually done side by side.
No, it's going to be a spicy one this week, I feel, just by the sheer amount of Microsoft news we got. We said pre-show that there's some distinct pillars of content that we're going to talk through. I don't even know where you want to start with this one, Richie, because they're making moves. They're making moves.
I think the first place we start is in where it is or is going to be available.
Right.
And I have a list in front of me, and this is not good news for Stadia. Stadia, unlike Microsoft, is available in Romania. Other than that, Microsoft XCloud will be available in 43 countries, so Stadia's 22.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's instantly it's a worrying comparison, isn't it? Because if you want to expand your player base, you have to be in more places. It's as simple as, and the whole moniker behind Stadia was, being able to play wherever you want, however you want. Well, you can't play wherever you want if we're only in 22 countries.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys. I love an ExpressVPN ad read as much as the next guy, but if I want to play without having to faff around with all of that rigmarole, it's great. Yeah, this week's, again, we should probably set the whole episode up with, Microsoft came out before E3 and just dropped shed tons of news around this, and this is one of the biggest stories because as English people as well, Australia is a huge one.
Yeah, I was going to go through the list in a second.
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
But we should point out, actually, this is getting recorded before the Microsoft Bethesda convention, so we haven't got news on what's going to be there yet. This is literally the information that came out before E3 started that we're going through. But places that XCloud is that Stadia isn't, and there's some absolute massive ones in here. That's the things like Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Chile, or Chile, however you want to pronounce it, China, Colombia, Greece, Hong Kong, India, Israel, Japan, Korea, Mexico, New Zealand, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Africa, Taiwan, Turkey, and the UAE. Some of them are fucking huge gaming communities.
Yep.
Like Korea, Japan, India, China, these are massive places.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the UAE as well has been crying out for, people in the Middle East have been saying like when Stadia coming, constantly. And, it's such a well-developed area now with the amount of money you think has been put into the Middle East recently, since like I guess finding black gold, finding oil has just like massively boomed, hasn't it? Um I'm at a loss as to what Stadia are doing in this particular area.
I don't think there's an angle that I could twist here to defend Stadia on this. XCloud wins, hands down. Like, it's not even close. It's literally 11 more countries, and some of them are some of the biggest gaming communities in the world, or have insanely huge. Like, you look at the populations of India and China alone.
Yeah. I mean, they're the ones specifically, emerging markets as well that are crying out for this. And we know the likes of like Brazil and Mexico and stuff sometimes suffer with stock shortages of actual hardware. Like PlayStation 3s and stuff are still sold massively in Brazil because it's so hard, because I think it's the tax system is really harsh on gamers in terms of getting them imported into the country. So something like cloud gaming alleviates all that. Like everywhere in the globe has internet, for better or for worse now. And that's just more stuff.
Like in India, while it's a very rich country, the population is relatively lower compared to the US or the UK. So not having to fork out the equivalent of £500 on a PlayStation or an Xbox is huge for that sort of community.
And the population is also huge. Like, we can't deny, like, going to these select countries, the sheer amount of human beings who now have access to these platforms is insane.
I think we can all agree that's a big L for Stadia, not being, considering it's been on the market longer than XCloud. Because XCloud is still in beta, isn't it?
Yeah, still in beta. It just makes me wonder. Like, we've questioned before, like, what takes so long? Like, Google have the internet infrastructure around the entire globe.
Yeah.
So the pace of the rollout of Stadia, we know they added new countries a few months back, and we've spoken off camera and on camera before about saying we hear nothing from these countries. Like, all of the new ones that were added, like Switzerland and stuff a few months back. I know we're in a small little bubble, but we have Twitter, we have our own podcast channel, we have all the Facebook pages. There is nothing to suggest that there's even people playing in these new rolled out countries. And I honestly put this down to marketing. We've theorized before, like, if you sign up to Stadia in Switzerland, do you get the Premier Edition with the Chromecast Ultra that's now defunct? Like, what's their rollout? What's their plan? Because they don't talk about it. There isn't a foreign language Twitter account. We've basically got Stadia. There's no UK. There's no Europe. There's no French, Spanish. So what are they doing?
It's their whole marketing strategy where you hear nothing till, here it is. But there's no build up. There's no, like, it seems like they do it with the games. We're paying more attention to what games are coming, and then you don't hear about anything until it's right upon you. But if you're trying to roll out this product in the countries, you want to start getting it advertised, get people excited. I see people all the time from places like India asking, when is Stadia coming to my country? The demand is there. These people
every Twitter post.
Now XCloud is about to be there. They're not going to wait. They're going to go, I can go XCloud.
Yeah. And there's some even easy wins in here. Like, we talk about language, and like the Stadia Twitter account is just English predominantly. They do try and reply sometimes in different languages, but there is no different segments of that, whereas Microsoft has one for most territories. If it comes to transferring your content across for, say, Australia, like, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to translate anything. They just have to make it available. But alas, here we are. It's XCloud in beta is beating them to the punch. Unless there's a stealth drop some point before the end of the month. They're going to naturally pick up first-time
in 11 countries, some of them the biggest on the planet.
Yeah, I mean,
even
that's
if it is a stealth
right?
drop, that's not, you don't stealth drop that. Like,
well, you wouldn't think so.
That's the sort of thing. Like, you go, we're going to, over the next year, we're going to be rolling out to all these places at an E3 convention. Like,
yeah. And we should probably mention as well, like, opening up, you mentioned South Korea, and you've got Japan, like that, like the amount of the gaming industry that comes from Japan.
Japan's difficult to break because Nintendo and Sony have a dominate. Like, even Microsoft hasn't fully made good inroads after a long time in Japan, but
that is with hardware.
Yeah.
This is on the move, which Japan does amazingly well for like small handheld devices. If this now empowers their mobile phones, remember they love the Samsungs over there. What have XCloud got a partnership with? Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that could be better than the Xbox console because it just fits their market better. And now it's available in Japan. Is Stadia?
Yeah,
big moves.
That's it. There's some weird countries missing out. I just don't get out. Like
Antarctica.
Yeah, I mean that would be Stadia. They'll get. Well, you can play it on Antarctica. Like probably 100 people at any one time max who are on Antarctica.
Yeah,
maybe able to play Stadia.
Russian substation.
And you know what? That would be a cool talking point for the podcast, but it's not resolving your issues with the player base and them.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Before
and that's just one. That's just one pillar.
Yeah. Before we move on, anyone got anything else to add to that? I think that's a showcase, to be honest.
No, but you can only just hope that Stadia have something in the works for this, because I'm sure historically we've seen things like a new Twitter handle being registered for Stadia Brazil, Stadia Japan, and stuff like that as well. But we've got to hope, right? We've got, but the moves need to be made and quickly.
Yeah,
remember as well where people are literally trying to keep out, not just be completely absorbed by the Stadia bubble. Yeah. We're trying to keep it now and what's going on in and around it, and like actually take an objective view of this.
Yeah.
And if we're struggling to find any information, people who are not looking for information, who just go, oh, what's Stadia? They're not going to see it. We're actively looking for this.
Yeah, and I mean, at what point do you Google cloud gaming or something in your country of origin, and it starts directing you on a Google search engine to Microsoft xCloud instead because it's available? And that's the biggest irony, is lots of people will discover xCloud through a Google browser.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what the top two... I've just Google Cloud Gaming. You know what the top two are for me? Excluding the ads.
It's xCloud.
There's Wiki and xCloud. Then Nvidia.
I'm going to try this now. Okay.
Something.
Cloud
Play
Gaming.
Without Console, Loud Play, Shadow Tech.
Right.
The Verge article. And Cloud Gaming Platform.
Yeah,
then we're back in ads.
As you.
Say you don't make it from page.
Mine's a cloud gaming ad for ovhcloud.com, whatever that looks like.
I skipping ads.
Yeah, cloud gaming, Xbox, Nvidia, blacknut.com.
Yeah.
Which sounds like it could be something naughty. Cloud gaming, Shadow Cloud, the Verge article about cloud gaming, Play, Enware, Vulture. Stadia, literally, they're a logo at the bottom.
Yeah, the Verge article does mention Stadia, but
either way, that's a whole different marketing issue. That's a whole different marketing discussion.
Oh God, I wish I hadn't done that. Anyway,
back to Microsoft announcements.
Let's talk about the new stuff from Xbox. Streaming stick.
Streaming stick.
Streaming technology.
You're talking about a Chromecast stick, Richie?
Yes. Well, not a Chromecast. XCloud stick.
Not.
I think that's a great move for Microsoft to be taking with xCloud and with essentially the Game Pass anywhere, because if we just have to look at the statistics for things like the Amazon Fire Stick and for the Chromecast to see like how embedded those devices are in just the general household, so I mean it's almost a no-brainer there. But while it is concerning for Stadia, I guess what we have to look at as well is the fact that also may have been inspired by that, because clearly that is one area that we do well in. It just means getting it in more places, which is again more concerning, isn't it, really?
Yeah. If we rewound the clock to when Microsoft launched the One, and they got all that crap for focusing on TV experience and being part of the household living room, and then wind all that back in for last generation. But fast forward to now, they can embody that with this TV stick. I think it was rumored before they announced the Series X and S, there was a big rumor about a TV stick being part of it, and evidently they just held back on that a little bit, probably rightly so. Going out in beta would learn from the mistakes of people who've gone before you. But the reality is, if they can sell a stick on the shelf alongside, in the UK, the Now TV sticks, the Roku boxes, the Chromecast, the Amazon Fire Sticks, but this one comes with Xbox, and it's probably, no, Microsoft, a 6-month Game Pass subscription for 99p or some crazy crazy marketing ploy like that.
Even just 1 month.
Plug it in your TV. Yeah, with Netflix, Disney Plus, all built into the apps, into the stick still, but with XCloud built in. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it's Chromecast, but it's from a different brand marketing. And if you're already aware of Xbox, or you're a gamer, or your kids are asking questions, or like me and Richie, we've talked off camera about this, saying I'm cautiously curious about potentially getting a Series S. I don't want to fork out for one. I've got my PC here. I could just play through that for all these Bethesda games in the future and all these exclusives. And Richie, you pointed out that if they bring out a stick that's 30, 40, 50 pounds,
I mean,
that fills that void.
Yeah,
and then we will be in that ecosystem as well as everything else. But not everyone has the money to splash out on different things. So having a stick as an alternative to a £600, £500 console option,
yeah, the stick,
that's a win.
I could see the stick being. I mean, I've talked plenty of times about how I see Microsoft as it looks like they're preparing for the next console generation to not have a physical console in people's living rooms. And I think the Series S and Series X, this generation is probably going to be used by them to phase out physical console. And this is, for me, this is just confirming what I already think they're doing. That stick, if that stick comes out and is comparable to the S, then suddenly the S is no longer required. So then the only time you'd actually need physical hardware is if you want to get the absolute premium quality from your gaming. And the S isn't bad.
No, not by any stretch. Do you two get the vibe that Microsoft spent the last generation basically reading the tea leaves of the future of gaming?
Planning for the next generation.
If you look at the Xbox Wire article, there's a great image they've put up at the top. And Richie, if you're editing this, feel free to add this picture in now just to give you some work to do. It's literally like kind of a circle picture image of their ecosystem, and it shows that it says game anywhere, game anytime, anywhere, with anyone. It's play on PC, customize your experience, next gen performance at an affordable price, Series S. Over the other side, the most powerful and fastest console ever built, Series X. Up above that, play anywhere with cloud gaming on mobile. And then right in the middle of that, you've got Game Pass Ultimate. Over 100 games, first party, Xbox Studios, which we know now is Bethesda.
Yep.
And other exclusive packs. That is one hell of an ecosystem for essentially an entry point of Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
That's like they've done the legwork. Well, we can all admit that the Xbox One failed where it wanted to do well. PS4 blew it out the water.
The strategy out the gate for the Xbox One, they got it wrong, but then they pulled it back as the generation went on.
I just think they went too early with that. But looking at this future now, like as we talk about Stadia and cloud gaming, we slowly, I think, break our molds. Like I've always been a PlayStation gamer, and this, like all of the stuff we talk about on a weekly basis is making me rethink how I approach gaming. But this is aimed at future generations. This is kids now who are just still in school, still have their parents buying them stuff. And this is creating an ecosystem that is going to be very hard to escape. Why do you want to spend £70 on a game outright when you could spend £10 and get 100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the question.
Yeah, it's insane. And kudos to Microsoft. We can't deny they're doing some amazing moves.
I can honestly say this is the first time in my life I've been very interested in Xbox. Before then, I've always respected Xbox as a very, very solid, if not incredible platform, but the first-party titles never really appealed to me. That's why I've always leaned Sony. They're changing the game, though.
They're making Richie sway.
They are.
Making Richie sway.
Right?
Especially if I can buy, as Chris mentioned, a stick for 30, 40, 50 pounds, plug into my TV, I'll pick up a controller, and I'll just get a Game Pass subscription like I'm planning with the Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah.
When there's a game I want to play, I activate my subscription, play it, then deactivate it. I might have it activate maybe 2 months. That's you're opening gaming up even more. This is one of the things I loved about the concept of Stadia as a way of opening gaming up more. And Microsoft are doing better. Just admit, what I'm hearing at the moment, Microsoft are doing it better than Stadia. I still really like Stadia, but Google, you really need to be looking at what Microsoft are doing right now and catch up.
Oh, they will be.
That's your homework there, Google.
Should we talk about how Microsoft xCloud is now actually catching up with Stadia in terms of their server blades?
Yeah, that was I think that was the headline article for me. We all knew about the games, we all knew about the library. The stick is just a nice accompaniment to all this, but the tech, Stadia has always been at the front with the tech. Every review, everyone in the community, the cloud gaming community, has always said, I love XCloud, however, the 720p resolution and there's a lot of frame rates and the load times aren't that great because they were running off an Xbox One. They've came out as part of this massive news drop and said, oh no, we're upgrading, so it's essentially going to be a Series X running in the cloud, which if you remember that image I just broke down for everyone, Series X is the most powerful, fastest console ever built, is how they're promoting it. Now you have access to those server blades in the cloud with Xbox and Game Pass. Stadia 2.0, whatever that ends up being, they've been radio silent on it, and they've said in interviews with John Justice and such before that we'll just do these upgrades as they come. They need to shout about this because Xbox are doing it, and if this is going to bring faster loading times, ray tracing, and all the other amazing bells and whistles of next gen or current gen, you need to compete because you're going to go from having the cutting edge software and hardware running in the background in these massive server things. And now you're no longer going to be number one. So if you're not number one at the tech, and then you're not number one at the games, and you're not number one at the cost, the value proposition, the whole purpose of Stadia, you're not in as many countries, it starts to look a bit watered down when you're stacking it up against a competitor that is still in beta. So, yeah, I don't know what more you can say.
I think the thing is when we compare them to the two previously, this is where Stadia particularly had the lead originally in the fact that, you know, XCloud in its beta process was running at 720p, whereas Stadia actually, you know, looked better and outperformed it in terms of like stabilized frame rates and so on, at least from my own personal experiences and from the general gist that I get online. But that's all about to change. Like, we've seen this hardware in action before. We've seen the Series X in action. You can just go online and check out any sort of review on the hardware itself, and now put that into a cloud gaming perspective, and all of a sudden you've actually got a behemoth. Like,
I
ready
don't
to
have
go.
a Series X. I've never actually even seen someone who has one, but I do have a PS5, which is roughly equivalent. And as I said before, I did a quick look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider on my PS4. Not on the channel, just out of curiosity, on my PS4, my PS5 and Stadia. And PS5, bear in mind, it's the same game, and this doesn't have next-gen upgrades, was by far the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stadia, you're about to lose your one advantage.
Yeah, which was always at the risk of happening. Again, we don't want to sound too bashy, but the reality, like, we can play all these. So the reality is, viewers, listeners, us three, go enjoy your games. We're always big advocates of enjoy wherever you want to play. And if xCloud and X Game Pass is more value, then hey ho, it doesn't stop you going to one and then back to the other. As Stadia being my first foray into cloud gaming, I obviously have a bias towards playing that. I've got a library now built up there. But you can't help but look at the competition and go, oh, I wish we had that. I wish that had that. And they need to come out and talk about these server blades and whatever they're doing to upgrade it and keep them current. Because we have games coming now, we know from the Ubisoft conference, that are solely next gen or current gen as it is. Talk about how is Stadia going to match that performance on PS5 and Series X?
Chris, I think you mentioned we've got a bit of a bias. I'm exactly the same. But I think, especially me and you, need to remember is, if there's a game that's not coming to Stadia, we're not locked out from it because we both have PlayStation 5s.
True. And
that's not the case for everyone.
With Game Pass.
If someone's deciding,
still can't get their hands on one.
I can have one platform, is a Stadia or XCloud.
Yeah.
If I was to make the decision right here, right now, I think I would switch to XCloud.
If you didn't have any to start with?
If I wasn't already invested in Stadia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think it's basically... What they've done is they've upgraded the tech to be comparable, and then they've got a lot more games coming. The Microsoft, so where there's still question marks over the big AAA third-party game, Battlefield. That's a question mark if it comes to Stadia. That's not a question mark if it comes to Microsoft.
Yeah.
And then you've got the exclusive studios and stuff they've been buying.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit, but there is a big rumor that Battlefield, the new Battlefield game, is going to be included on Game Pass as well. Day one, which would be saw it happen with Outriders.
EA Play is part of the subscription. If it's part of EA Play, then it's part of.
It's not, isn't it EA Play Lite though? You get with Game Pass. There's something where you don't get don't think you get the AAA's day and date without paying.
Maybe, but that might just give you like, okay, it's coming. It's going to come for a month. then
Yeah.
it's going to fade away. But
Yeah, but the reality is, if you are not investing in cloud gaming right now and you need to weigh up all competition, the sheer game library alone that comes with Game Pass, all the Bethesda titles and the Xbox exclusives, surely that would make up your mind for you, unless you distinctly want to play Cyberpunk, I guess. But yeah, a lot of the titles that we play are available for a equivalent monthly price, but with the same soon-to-be better tech. So, what's the final pillar for the week, Richie? What was the final story?
Well, Microsoft have also announced that new exclusive games will be added every quarter. Game Pass.
Yeah.
That S&G closure didn't look great when they announced it.
Yeah, once every 3 months, you'll get at least one exclusive game.
Which is crazy.
I really have much more to say than that.
I mean, if you look at think of again, we're always comparing. So, Stadia don't have any studios, so they're going to have to make these third-party deals, which means it's possibly going to be like a Ubisoft or a AAA game from whoever. Flip over to Microsoft, and we know they've gone all out on acquiring studios, like $8 billion for Bethesda's like crazy money. But if you just look at like the list of IP, so that's Halo, Gears of War, We Happy Few, Psychonauts, Perfect Dark is being made by the Initiative, Wasteland 3, Minecraft, which of course they do own but share with other people, Hellblade from Ninja Theory, which they acquired, The Outer Worlds from Obsidian. They've also got Avowed in the works. The Playground Games make the Forza titles, and Fable, they're working on the new Fable game. Sea of Thieves from Rare and whatever they work on. State of Decay, and then all of the other little secret ones, not including Bethesda. So that's Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Starfield, Doom, Rage, Dishonored from Arcane, this Indiana Jones game from Machine Games, Wolfenstein franchise, Tango, Evil Within, and then all the other little smaller studios in between, all working on games to bring you one exclusive first-party game every 3 months.
Yeah.
That's like before you even finish one game, there'll be another one out added to your library for your £10 Game Pass subscription a month. That's running on Series X server blades in the cloud. That's a lot of games getting added continuously.
And once they bring back Design Labs, you can make yourself custom control.
And that, of course, as well. Just to add the
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually link something like that to your subscription as well and say you get a discount from it or so on. Like the longer you're a subscriber, eventually you get perks.
I think the value proposition is amazing already.
For that.
Yeah, I'd love to see the finances on all this because obviously you've got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
And Microsoft are currently in the spending money phase.
Yes.
Like Game Pass, I mean, in a way, it could actually totally collapse in on itself if they don't see the return on investment. But I'd imagine people much smarter than us have crunched the numbers and said, no,
they've planned.
It'll be a while.
This period.
But
they've very much planned this period over the last generation. We said, as we said earlier in the show, that they were planning for this generation. They've been like really thinking about what Xbox Gold and now Game Pass is and how they can utilize. They've come to the decision that they can make more money doing it this way. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've said before, like how many of us keep our Netflix? I have Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, all just running at the same time. I signed up for Now TV to watch the Friends reunion episode. What did I do? Forgot to cancel it. So what happened? I paid for another month. £10 down my bank account.
I'm pretty good at keeping on top of my subscription. But yeah.
I actually scratch that. I did intend to cancel it immediately. Went to the website. Website didn't work. So then I forgot about it in the moment, and then by the time I went back to it again, I'd missed the time window.
I say I'm pretty good at keeping on top of my subscriptions. My Nintendo Online subscription only cancelled because my card expired. And I didn't update my card details. That's the only reason that expired.
Well, that's a fortunate outcome then.
I haven't played anything in PlayStation Plus in over like 6 months or something.
Yeah. So, in summary, then, knocking it out of the park, Microsoft.
They are. They know what they're doing. They're playing it very well. They've been watching the field, just like Luna did when they first came to the market. They're at the point now where they're looking to push XCloud out of beta, like fully.
Yeah, I think that's what this announcement's about there.
Yeah.
I think it'll stay in beta probably for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're really gearing up to go, now it's live.
Yeah. I think this early announcement ahead of E3 suggests, like, again, we're recording this before the Microsoft event on Sunday, which was like a while ago now for our non-members. But I think getting all this information out there in the news ahead of time means we're probably not going to see anything announced at this E3. This, like you said, Richie, I think it will stay in beta for the rest of the year. Maybe before, I think maybe leading into Christmas, they could go out all out with a big news announcement that's out of beta, like to kind of get some new people in the door around Christmas time, especially if there's stock shortages of the consoles. This could kind of do a really good job to kind of subsidize the lack of sales if they don't have the stock. But I mean, all in all, yeah, kudos to Microsoft. They're smashing out of the park. They're taking everything on board, from cloud to even competing with Sony and Nintendo. They're really bringing it back in. And as a gamer who I am biased towards certain platforms. Again, I've been a PlayStation gamer my whole life, but I do have a Switch and an Xbox controller and everything else and a PC. It's just more games, more accessible for more people, and the quality and the competition. Like, let's face it, Stadia has pushed Microsoft to do this, and Luna has pushed them, and vice versa. The competition is healthy, and all these news stories we cover, the only answer out of it all is it's better for gamers. So fill your boots. Stadia needs to come out and compete with this. That's great for us. That's great for gamers. So it's a win-win all round.
I still like Stadia. I must admit, I've been very, very pessimistic. This is probably the most pessimistic I've ever been about Stadia. But that's just in comparison to how much awesome stuff Microsoft are doing right now. And the more awesome stuff Microsoft do now, and telling us about it. Big thing there. We can only go off what you tell us. If you don't tell us anything, you look like you're stagnating. Microsoft are coming going, here's all the cool stuff we're doing for XCloud.
Yeah, I mean, this one post on Xbox Wire was essentially broken down into about 5 different Verge articles on The Verge, which just tells you how much they've told you that several different articles can be written about bullet points in this blog post. But yeah, you're totally right. We've said from day one, communication is key to all this. And every time we read these stories, it just puts Microsoft in a better position for the consumer. I read this and think, that's fantastic for me. That's fantastic for people there who can't get their hands on it. But yeah, like I said, Richie, pessimistic and stuff aside, it's great all round. But don't forget, we might be getting Arc on Pro this month.
Yay, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
just as a I wanted to give something to combat all the stuff we've just broken down.
Yeah,
Ark Survival Evolved.
I think that makes it worse, Chris, when you go, here's all the stuff that Microsoft doing. Ark and Romania.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Sorry, Romania. I don't. But yeah, that's what his Stadia has. You have Ark and Romania.
Is Ark on Game Pass right now? Just out of.
It will be.
On Game Pass.
I love the optimism right there, Richie.
Yeah, it looks like it. Coming soon. Ark Survival Evolved Explorers Edition.
Yeah.
All right. So, based on this news, what we
17th.
have is Microsoft have comparable gameplay, a bigger selection of games, guarantee pretty much all the AAA third-party stuff, more countries. What Stadia have lost is the quality. They've lost the convenience of things like the Chromecast, but they still have Romania.
Go Romania.
This is the problem. I want to be more optimistic about Stadia, but I'm just, based on putting these side by side today, I just don't see it at the moment.
Well, the one thing we can all confirm is that, like, being on the Stadia hype train is more like a roller coaster, isn't it? It is. It's full of its ups, it's full of its downs. We go through these every day, every week. So we just have to wait for the next news story. It's as simple as that. But
Google, if you're listening, please take everything we're saying here from a good place that we want you to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Take the criticism and act on it.
They know it. They just don't like to talk about it.
You need to talk about it. Shout it from the rooftops. You've got an awesome platform there. Really do, but you need to tell people.
They do.
Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I was just going to segue and say, telling people about stuff. We should tell people to subscribe and like and click that. What is it, Richie? The notification bell.
Yeah.
Or is it what do you say?
The bell icon for notifications.
The bell icon.
It's the bell notifications for icons.
Yeah, we like those icons.
But that's all we have for you today. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification for icons. You can become a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Check out all of our other shows, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast, all of our E3 coverage, and our Thursday night live stream should be resuming.
Yeah, we'll be back to games this week. 100%.
Which actually will have been yesterday, if you're not a member. So say hi in the Discord. Links in the description. I've been Richie.
I've been Tom.
I've been Chris.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you very much for watching. Quest completed.